What's happening, guys? Back at you with another video. So, today's the day that we finally got the new slate for the DCU for DC Studios. James Gunn has put out a video basically breaking down the whole setup for his new DC Studios slate lineup of movies, TV shows, and all that. So, we're going to go ahead and take a look at it. I'm going to watch this video, go ahead and just break it down, talk about it a little bit. So, let's go ahead and get into it.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of,
Yeah.
our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That's
All right. So, one thing I want to say real quick, the way I think that it's a good idea to bring in two people for this, setting up the whole DC Studios DCU thing, where it's connected and all that between TV shows, gaming, and movies and all that. So the way that I have figured out that it was set up was that James Gunn was brought in. Of course, he's co-CEO. He's going to be doing most of the storytelling and creative side, and then Peter Safran, who is a producer, is going to be doing some of the business side stuff. So and they're going to be collaborating together to pretty much put out this whole slate, put out this plan. So they'll be pretty good to have two people, one creative side, one business side. That way they collaborate and be able to do what's best and put out this slate going forward. So I'm definitely interested in seeing what they're able to do. But let's go ahead and continue.
the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the
All
mainstream
right, so
DCU
they
continuity.
officially are saying here, James Gunn's officially saying here that we are going to still keep getting the Joker. We are going to still keep getting Matt Reeves Batman, and it's going to be labeled as an outside property, labeled as DC Elseworlds. I think this is a great idea to be able to have these more separate stories. Maybe some other characters could come in and get their own movies that are kind of separate from the main focus of the DCU. I know I keep trying to say DCEU, but it's DCU officially. But I think it's a good idea to have this DC Elseworlds, where we could possibly get future movies on other characters and stories and going forward, and just label it as DC Elseworlds instead of it being a part of the main core of the main setup of the DCU. So I'm glad that they're able to do that. I'm glad we're going to keep getting the Joker movie and the Batman, Matt Reeves Batman movie. So I'm glad they're doing that, as a separate thing known as DC Elseworlds. Honestly, it'd be pretty cool if they do a new kind of intro for these movies to kind of separate them a little bit, where it's they do a intro that clarifies that in the beginning of the movie or wherever it is that this is a DC Elseworlds movie, DC Elseworlds story, and they have the intro for DC Studios DCU for its main core setup of lineup of movies and TV shows and all that stuff. So that'd be pretty cool if they do that. But I'm glad that they're able to keep these movies and label it as something different as DC Elseworlds. So that's pretty good that they're keeping that.
Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now.
All right, so he's talking about the next 4 movies that are coming out this year, with Shazam, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman and Lost Kingdom coming out this year in 2023. I don't know. I'm kind of confused a little bit. The way he's making it sound is that they're almost sort of connected to the DCU going forward, like the way he's just making it sound. But also too, on the other hand, he kind of, I'm not gonna say he has to, but it's in order for the movies to probably make a profit this year, or at least kind of get good press is that he can't really bash on them. He can't really badmouth them or bad talk them, or really say that they're not important or anything like that. Because then that just drops everything for people. When they hear that it's not part of the DCU, or he starts talking something bad about it or anything like that, kind of drops their morale a little bit to where people might not even want to go check it out since it's not connected or anything like that. Me personally, I'm going to watch all of the movies either way because they're DC movies. So I'm a DC fan. I'm going to watch those movies either way, no matter what they're connected or not. I'm going to be checking them out still. But the way he's making it sound, so it's like kind of twofold. The way he's making it sound makes it sound like they are somewhat connected, and then on the other hand, he can't really say anything bad about those movies because they still got to turn a profit on them, and he can't really say anything too much about them. So that's the way I'm getting at this with this when he's talking about the movies coming up in this year. It'd be interesting. I was hearing something about that they could possibly could be connected. There's even some actors that could possibly come back and make the returns as the characters they played previously. Whether or not that's true or not is remains to be seen, and we'll see what happens in the future.
So, Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, this,
All
what
right,
I'm about
gods
to
and
tell
monsters.
you, is
Okay,
a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter.
okay.
The first project is Creature
Hmm.
Commandos. Creature
Creature Commandos.
Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action.
Interesting. All right, first. All right, first thing he says off Creature Commandos, which is going to be an animated series. I was hearing that he actually has written the whole series out. I believe they said it's only like 7 episodes. But it's an anime series that's about 7 episodes long. He's written most of it out already. I think he was saying. But the interesting thing that I was hearing him say is that, like in here at least, was that who's ever going to be voicing the characters in the animated show is also going to be playing their live action counterparts. So that's kind of interesting. I know that Marvel was kind of sort of doing that a little bit with What If, and they had some of the, not all of them were the same people who played the live action to voice them, but a couple of them were. So that's kind of a similar aspect with that. But it's definitely an interesting concept that he would get the people who voice the characters in an animated show to also play their live action counterparts. So that would be pretty cool to check out and see. But nonetheless, I don't know anything about uh, Creature Commandos. I'm not familiar with them. But I leave it to James Gunn to bring us these obscure comic book characters, and I trusted him to tell us great and compelling stories. So we'll see how that goes with these new characters that I absolutely don't know anything really about. But let's go ahead and move on.
Next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going
Okay.
to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait.
All right, so we're getting Amanda
Okay,
Waller series,
next.
like you were saying, that it's going to be pretty much part of the Peacemaker team. So there was supposed to be a Peacemaker season 2 coming out, but there has not been really too much word on it, or if it's still coming out or when it's going to come out. But the way that he's setting this Amanda Waller show up, it seems like this is going to be pretty much taking place around the time of Peacemaker, of season 1 Peacemaker, or a little bit after that, or it's taking place in the same type of world and all that stuff. So it'll be nice to see that kind of connective tissue with that, and bringing Viola Davis back as Amanda Waller is pretty great also because she plays an amazing Amanda Waller. So that'll be very interesting to see her own show and how it actually connects within the Peacemaker and the overall DCU.
Up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being
Superman
written by
movie.
me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay.
All right, so we're getting our first. He calls it the first official beginning of the DCU. Superman Legacy coming out in 2025, July 2025. So he's in the middle of writing this movie, and how he's saying he's having a lot of fun with it. I kind of suspect he might direct this Superman movie since he's writing it. He might direct it. Um, so I could probably expect that. I would expect that he might direct it since he is writing it also, and he likes Superman, and he's looking forward to actually doing it. He's having fun writing it. He says so. I'm looking forward to the Superman movie. From what I was hearing, that it's not going to be an origin story. This is going to be basically um, him. He's kind of slightly established already. He's going to be basically telling a story where he's trying to balance his Kryptonian heritage with the way he is on Earth. So as far as I know, it's not going to be an origin story. He's going to be kind of maybe starting out as Superman, or at least somewhat settled into the persona of Superman. So it'll be interesting to see what that brings. But I hear that they're looking for someone that's a little bit younger, to be able to take over the role. So it'll be interesting to see that. So let's see how that Superman story plays out.
Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is the
Ooh,
story of a couple
yes.
of Green Lanterns, John Stewart, Hal
Yes.
Jordan, and we have a few other lanterns peppered in there. But this is really a terrestrial based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple
Oh,
of
I like that.
Green
I like that.
Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the
Okay.
DCU.
All right. So we're getting our Lantern show finally. This has been in developmental hell for a very long time. Basically, ever since the last Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds back in 2011. Basically, they've been trying to do something with Green Lantern ever since. They haven't been able to get it off the ground. There's been lots of developments and stuff they're trying to kick off with shows too and things like that. There's been different productions and developmental stuff. It's just been a developmental hell for a long time. But I'm glad to see that they are kicking it off and pushing it forward. This Lantern show, and I'm glad they're going to be having Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart in this show, saying that it's going to be true detective like, in the same way that it is with the show, the HBO show True Detective. I haven't actually seen it, but I've heard good things about it. So that'll be very interesting. Basically they are like space cops, and they protect the Earth and the quadrant within, or the Earth that's in the quadrant, whatever, all that. But I'm glad to be able to see this show finally come to fruition and see it finally have some leeway to actually push forward and actually happen. And I'm so glad that they have Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's my favorite Green Lantern, so I'm excited for this series. I'm definitely excited to see what they do with this series, and I'm finally glad that they're actually putting something and pushing forward for a Lantern show.
Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of
Right, the
mine.
Authority.
It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes.
All right, so we're getting the Authority, as he says. James Gunn says it's a passion project for him. So I would kind of maybe expect him to write it, maybe direct it, or at least write it, at least somewhat. Uh, I'm vaguely familiar with the Authority. I don't know a whole lot about them. I heard of them, but I haven't really delved deep into their stories or anything like that, so I'm not super familiar with them. But it's kind of interesting the way he says it too. That it's a passion project for him, so it's definitely something I would expect him to maybe at least write, maybe possibly direct. So I will see how it goes with that. This one does, the way he makes it seem, um, it seems like it's like kind of the boys esque a little bit, and just having the heroes where it's like by any means necessary they're just gonna do what they think is right. So whether that comes off as a good thing or a bad thing, we'll see how that goes. But I like how I'm interested in seeing what he does with that, since it's going to be a movie and all that.
Doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones
Okay.
with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island.
All right, so we're getting a show about the mascara called Paradise Lost. So basically, this is going to be taking place before Diana Prince is born. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays. The way he's describing it is that's going to be a Game of Thrones, Westeros kind of style show. So it'll be interesting how that plays out with this whole setup. The mythology behind it too is very interesting for the mascara, and basically Paradise Island, and the way things are set up, where it's very remotely lined up with like Greek mythology and stuff like that. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. The way the style he's setting it up is that it's going to be Game of Thrones like. So it'll be very interesting to see that. And if it's like a prequel sort of to like Wonder Woman before she's born and all that. So that'll be kind of interesting to check out.
The introduction of the DCU's Batman
All
is The
right.
Brave
Batman
and the
movie.
Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of
Oh,
Batman and his
okay. They're going to
actual
bring
son,
Damian Wayne
Damian
in.
Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian
Okay.
Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line. And so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning
Okay.
of sort of the Bat family in the DC.
All right, so this is a little bit interesting. We're going to be getting a Batman movie, which I kind of expected that we're going to get some form of Batman in the DCU. So we're going to be getting a movie called The Brave and the Bold, which is a very familiar uh, comic book run, comic book title, and all that stuff. What's just interesting about this one is that he's going to be using Damian Wayne instead to start this off. So my guess is that this is going to be a more established Batman taking place, that he's probably been Batman for at least 10 to 10 plus years, 10 15 years maybe, probably. And he finds out he has a son, uh who's about 8 to 10 years old. Damian Wayne is a super aggressive one. He's basically been trained from birth to be an assassin. His mother is Talia al Ghul. His grandfather is Rush al Ghul. So he's basically been raised to be an assassin. Growing up during like the League of Shadows and all that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see that with they're starting off with that Batman story where where Damian Wayne, he's going to be meeting Damian Wayne, his son. And then he's talking about establishing a Bat family. So it's kind of interesting that they're starting off with this. It doesn't look like they're going to be doing an origin story where we're going to getting like Dick Grayson as Robin. Maybe we can get Dick Grayson and the rest of the Bat family, like they're more uh, grown up and all that stuff. Maybe Dick Grayson's Nightwing. Maybe we could get a Batgirl. Maybe we could get a Red Hood. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But it's interesting that he's kind of starting off with Damian Wayne as the Robin and having Batman established already and just seeing how that goes. I'll be interesting how that ties in to everything with the story and everything going forward. But I'm excited for that. Let's check and we'll see how that goes.
Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is
Okay.
basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome in an HBO Max series.
All right, so we're getting a Booster Gold series. This kind of has been, I won't say necessarily development, but it's always rumored and it's always like in talks that we will get a Booster Gold series, or at least somewhat like a Booster Gold and Blue Beetle series. It was kind of in the talks and kind of in development a little bit, but this is going to be, we're going to be getting a Booster Gold series by itself within the DCU. Booster Gold is a character I'm kind of familiar with. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what this series brings. I think I would suspect that this series could be very comedic. Booster Gold is commonly known more as a comedic kind of character. So it'll be interesting to see what this series brings. Interested in seeing his character in the DCU. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes with that.
One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction
Okay,
epic
a
film.
Supergirl movie.
Now,
Okay,
Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents. Whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible
all right,
way.
yeah,
So
that
she's
makes
a much
sense.
more jaded character.
All right, so we're getting a Supergirl movie titled Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. This is taking place during a comic book run that James Gunn has said he's taking inspiration from. So it'll be interesting to see this character. It'll be interesting to see this character as far as the way he's describing her, where Supergirl is definitely a jaded character. She was of a certain age to where she was able to remember the destruction of Krypton as opposed to her cousin Superman, who was barely a baby when he was sent off from Krypton before it got destroyed, sent off to Earth and all that stuff before it got destroyed. So I like the contrast between that, where we get Superman who doesn't really know that he's like the hopeful character, and then we get Supergirl who is the jaded character, where she's seen the destruction of stuff. She may not necessarily trust people. She may not. She just knows the pain, and she knows pain and loss. So I would like that contrast between those two characters, where if we see them how they interact and they have those two separate things between them, where it'll be a nice contrast between them to where the way Supergirl is to the way Superman is, and the contrast between them might make for an interesting, connective thing going on, and just the way they interact with each other. That could definitely be some interesting stuff.
And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about.
Swamp
A
Thing.
very
Okay.
dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the
All right.
stories. And
Swamp Thing. That sounds exciting. I gotta say, that sounds exciting. I am definitely familiar with this character of Swamp Thing. I haven't necessarily seen a new recent series that came out. I need to get on that and check that series out. But I know there was like a movie too back in the '80s too that was directed by Wes Craven. But this is very interesting news. A Swamp Thing movie, and the way he's describing it as this more horror esque, kind of totally different from the rest of the DCU, kind of movie. I am all for that. I definitely would like to see a horror based Swamp Thing movie. That would be awesome to see. And the way he's describing it as totally different from the DCU, but still feeds into the core connective tissue of the DCU and overarching story and all that stuff. I'm here for it. I'm definitely interested in seeing that. I can't wait for that. That'll be cool. And recent news, I've been hearing that James Mangold is actually in talks to direct this movie. If y'all familiar with James Mangold, he is the director of the Logan movie that came out in 2017, and also to the upcoming Indiana Jones 5 movie. So that is he's a good director. I could see him trying to do this and putting out something great with this horror esque kind of theme going on with Swamp Thing. I'm definitely interested in that. It sounds awesome.
anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once in a lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure.
All right.
Thank you so much.
So I like the way that James Gunn is setting this stuff up so far. One of the key things I was hearing that he just said right there was story is key or king, or say he said something like that. Story is key. And the way that he's going to be bringing in these writers and directors, he's going to be, having the writers and directors working together. And the way he said it was that he's going to be bringing in the people for their certain styles. Now, it's kind of interesting concept to where we might get these movies and TV shows, and they might be all totally different from each other, and different feels, different vibes, different things like that, just totally different from each other. Which that sounds like a good concept to do, where it doesn't feel like it's all the same thing going on like that and stuff like that. So I like that he's going to be doing that, where it's going to be like he's going to be focusing on a story and outlining the stories and all that stuff, but he's going to be looking for certain people, certain directors who bring a certain style to different things and have them do their own style. It's kind of similar to what the way Marvel was kind of doing this more previous last phase with Phase 4. They were kind of giving a couple directors here and there, they're kind of letting them do their own style, do their own kind of thing. With the, they still had an outline, a story of an outline, or, an outline of a story to tell and certain things they had to do. But Kevin Feige did let certain directors actually kind of put their own style a little bit on some certain stuff. So I like that James Gunn is thinking of that, doing that to where he's going to have certain styles, bringing certain people who have certain styles to bring certain themes and certain styles to the stuff that's out. Where he's going to be, like you said, he's going to be putting a story forward, or putting a story at the forefront to where the story is key as he says it. And I just like that he's going to be doing that. James Gunn, I do trust in James Gunn and Peter Safran to be able to put out this slate and lineup, bring us a product that is going to be successful and all that stuff. Of course, he does have to earn our trust. They both do basically have to earn our trust the same way that Kevin Feige has kind of earned our trust and all that stuff. So I am looking forward to seeing what they're able to do. I trust that he's able to do it, but like I said, of course, we gotta see the products first, see these movies, see these TV shows, see how they are, see the way they are connected, see how they are with stories and things like that. And once they become successful, definitely can be able to trust fully into James Gunn and what he brings and Peter Safran too. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're able to do with the DCU. Looking forward to seeing what James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to be doing. I trust that he's going to be able to put out some great stories and do different things like that. I'm excited for these uh, these stories that he's going to tell. I'm excited for these projects that they're coming out with. Yeah, but I'm definitely excited. I'm definitely excited for the new things that are coming to DCU. Hopefully, this is a great turn to where we get great things coming out of the DCU from now on. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. But let me know down in the comments below, what are your thoughts on this new slate, this new lineup of DCU, DC Studios, movies, projects, and all that, TV shows, and all that. That's going to do it all for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Remember, if you want to be part of Team Legendary, all you got to do is subscribe and turn notifications on so you know I post on our video. Hope you all have an awesome day, and remember, be legendary.